to thank you for taking the time to do this lesson with us.
Absolutely.
Where we best begin? What would you like to start with?
Why don't we do this? Why don't we play a little from the duet routine in this book and see this would be the Vining daily routines. And we'll just play some long tones and stuff and just maybe spend maybe half the time just doing fundamental stuff like this.
Sounds good to me.
And see what
So
strengths and weaknesses are and stuff.
do we want to buzz it or do we?
Let's start playing and then
Just for anybody who's watching, this is Daily Routines for Trombone by David Vining, and these are sets of duets. And the first time play, and the second time he suggests buzzing it on the mouthpiece. Yeah. And breathe wherever it's comfortable. I like that.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
So do you want me on top?
Yeah, why don't you play the top line?
And will we buzz on the second time or just go on?
Might as well.
Okay.
We'll do it as directed for at least the first page. Here.
Okay, great.
Let's see what we got, right? Let's see, we'll put on a metronome. Why not? You start us off. Let's play it now that we've buzzed it. Let's see if it's even more secure now.
Isn't it amazing where I messed up on the buzzing? That's where I also messed up on the playing.
On this thing here.
Right here, yeah, I went too high for the D. I ended up on an F.
Yeah.
But it felt much nicer after buzzing.
The buzzing.
After buzzing.
Yeah, sometimes I like to turn these around and buzz first, play second, or add another. I feel like we should be rewarded for our buzzing.
Absolutely.
Know? It's terrible, terribly boring and no fun to do. So we might as well.
Have you found a secret how to get your students to do it?
Not outside the lessons. Not particularly.
Oh.
I find minimal evidence of buzzing outside the lessons, although, sometimes we emphasize it more than others. So you're familiar with Dave's book about the body.
Yes.
You've been through that stuff. Have you gotten some feedback on posture and balance lately or anything like that?
Myself, no. I have been working on posture in general, and then my students tell me, you're always talking about that. I went to the gym and have designed a program. They designed a program for me. Okay. You're always talking about posture in the gym and everything. Here's a picture of you playing. And I went, so that was some feedback. And it was negative feedback. I have a tendency to hunch over a little bit and stuff.
And I think, I mean, just from these two exercises, it looks to me like the level of investment or the difficulty of the music causes more. Because all of a sudden you're on the long tones here and you're not quite so forward.
Yeah, I start thinking about here and the air and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's probably right on.
So you might. I know one thing David really drilled into me was just 2 feet flat on the floor and bring the horn to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's super advice, I think. Never go to the horn, always bring the horn to you. So let's see, let's skip through this stuff, and should we do some flexibility?
Okay.
Like let's try something like that. You stick on the top line.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got off.
Yeah, so we're apart at first.
Perfect. There was a little voice that went, "Stand up!" And I stopped looking. All right, how about the third bar?
Yeah, sure. Now we'll just continue in all the positions, even though we didn't write them out.
Okay, so second position now?
Third now, so we just did second.
Yep,
On
okay.
to third, yeah. Go on to the next thing. Let's do the seventh position one again, just because that's awkward and needs extra practice. Yeah. So for this thing, I mean, obviously we're out in seventh position is awkward to play anyway. So I'm usually thinking by the time I get out there that. Well, the awkward thing about seventh position is not the E and the B, really. It's the E and the G sharp right there, right?
And then just to go out more.
Yeah, and doing that in a static position instead of getting the opportunity to be at movement. So I think just all the more reason to pace the air supply, sort of more to push in at the end of the phrase there, or to let out at the end of the phrase. We'll just do that same thing again a couple times.
Seventh position?
Yeah, and then go for like the ultimate sound at the end of the thing there. Yeah, I probably wouldn't even bother doing adjustments right now, just to get the thing going. Maybe just one.
Can we try one more time?
One more time, yeah.
I cheated a little bit.
Yeah.
But, when you get to the end, it's always about air.
Right. I think so. Well, and a thing like this, there's no. I don't know if there's any real benefit to practicing not breathing when you have a quarter to breathe. I think it's better to practice breathing in an intelligent spot and having a great air supply at the end rather than. I mean, if we're working on a piece with huge phrases and we have to practice stretching out our, as far as time, then fine.
Yeah.
Might as well practice getting a great tone all the time, whatever it takes at first. So. Any of the others strike your fancy? Do you want to skip to a particular flexibility thing, or?
Well, let's do 3C.
Okay, great.
I remembered. Yeah. Well, you get the lower part.
Yeah,
so it's hard.
about as good as it can get. We could speed it up. I'd have an easier time. Let's do this because this is hard to keep track of all the dynamics.
All right.
We'll keep ourselves going with the metronome this time. top line?
Yeah.
Great.
Probably stay in 4.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
I like that one. I've never seen that before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I want to say this is the early first edition of the book. I think in subsequent editions it's got all different articulations marked in on
Yeah.
different slurs and different accents and what all.
Yeah. As much as I
It's a lot to keep track of.
screwed it up, I think that's a great.
Yeah, this is just good to do just because, especially following those high notes. So let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just as relaxed as possible. All the fuel coming from the inhale. Just relax and let it come flying out,
Right.
kind of a thing. trigger or pedal F comes out better in with the trigger or in sixth? Or
Depends
about
on
the
what
same?
day it is.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, why don't we cap up this part by doing just a few of these articulation things?
Great.
Let's just do the simple thing here.
1
for
G.
now, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll just work our way. What is this? Up a G major scale, and then back down. Let's do this. On each pitch, it switches who goes first.
Okay.
Whoever goes first determines the articulation.
Oh, all right.
So we can mix it up and hit everywhere on the spectrum every
Great.
time we get along, right? So, do you have any particular a piece that that you'd like to
I am
take a look at?
staying. This is the Brad Edwards Simply Singing for Winds.
Okay.
And I'm using his daily routine, and the last thing he suggests is playing something melodic from
great.
something. So I sight read through these things.
Oh yeah.
So let's do one here.
So first of all, say you're gonna now prepare this for a performance.
Yeah.
What's your first thoughts of what are you gonna focus on after reading through it?
As I went through, I adjusted rhythm and melody. I'm looking that dotted half note 66 is the goal, not necessarily what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That's the secondary thing. But basically the airstream and the connection between the notes, intonation, sound.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I'd go back and I'd say, all right, I don't like what happened at the beginning. And I don't have enough air to finish.
Sure.
So
just before we go on much further, let's talk just a little about the sight reading experience and versus the otherwise further practicing or performing.
Okay.
How would you break it down? What are the key differences of the experience of sight reading a melody like this, as opposed to your next couple times through it?
Well, I don't necessarily do what I tell my students, but I mean, the first time through, you need to make sure you check out the key signature.
Right.
I look over the whole piece, and I think that the most important thing again is to try and make the melodic line, even though it's the first time through. So if you happen to run out of air, go ahead and take a breath.
Sure.
Subsequent things, and keep going, because it's sight reading, so don't stop.
Yeah.
And subsequent things you can stop and go back and say, hey, that's out of tune, or I don't like that articulation, or I need to do something to accommodate the necessary air or something like that.
Okay. And when you're sight reading a tune like this, do you catch yourself doing things maybe because of the anxiety of focusing on it for the first time?
Oh yeah,
and it's taking you out of your element a little bit.
Yeah, and as you've already pointed out, which was worth the whole drive. The whole drive over here is my posture goes to heck when I start to read. When I start to read music, since I'm sight reading.
I guess I think what I'm really interested is finding a way to lock in physically and mentally the ideal performance approach the first time through, So hopefully, we can, maybe at first it'll start with sort of a mental checklist of posture, airflow, kind of developing a concept, a guiding mental concept of how we're going to approach this, and then when we no longer feel like we're sight reading, then we sight read it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And trying to gradually compress that whole process into it's just like then we feel like a pro. You
Right.
know?
It's easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure.
And one other thing that I do sometimes do, because I'm using this time to work on other skills, is I will buzz it or solfege it.
Sure,
And that's humiliating.
yeah.
So I usually do that in the privacy of my own home.
Right. But as far as just some of the physical things and stuff like that, I bet, you know, sometimes we'll start reading something that's just hard and we're not going to nail it all down. But as far as, I bet we can kind of establish the mindset and physical, mental approach to the piece from the beginning. I bet we can probably get a grasp on that.
Okay.
Pretty early. So can you just kind of take a second and think through it, at least the first line or two, think about, kind of put yourself in the mindset of, you know, you're quite experienced on this, kind of visualize in your sort of kinesthetic part of your brain what it needs to feel like as the air moves up and down throughout the registers, and maybe some of the slide extensions and turnarounds. Maybe a few things that are easy to sort of screw up when you're tense or something. Think about how you're going to stand and play it. And I think as you visualize it, it has to be a relaxing and freeing influence. If it's becoming a checklist of, all right, I'll do this and this and this and this, then it's having the opposite effect, of course, right? But
I think I get what you're saying. So now we'll just try it. In other words, let it happen instead of make it happen.
Sure.
But I can do all those things.
Yeah.
Huh. And when I messed up, I found that I was moving.
Yeah,
Did you notice how I was
yeah.
moving when things were right?
That's
and
a
when
real-
things weren't
yeah.
right, I stopped moving.
Yeah, that's a real contrast between a stereotypical guy sight reading and
Yeah.
a guy playing relaxed and
and
confident
being able to
stuff.
move with the music is, I think.
Yeah.
Does David talk about that, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I don't know. He
I know body mapping.
probably does.
but-
Probably people who are smart to talk
Yeah.
about it. I'm guessing.
But I didn't think about doing that. I
It
thought
was
about,
just happening.
I wanted to be tall and I wanted to breathe.
Mhm.
And I wanted to have a smooth lyrical line. And the thing that allowed me to move was the fact that don't think about those things, just make the music happen. So the suggestion you gave was a valuable one. I
Oh,
guess.
good. Thanks. Yeah. Now we just maybe isolate some of the weak spots. So it sounds like you're absolutely money in the mid range.
Yeah.
And then you get up above, say, D flat or so, and some
Right.
of the natural slurs aren't coming real easy
Right.
yet.
And I'm tense,
Right.
and
Little tense
range
about them.
has always
then-
bothered me.
Yeah, okay. So, well, let's just do some experiments here to see
Okay.
how these go. So, suppose you just go from D flat to F a few times like this. Maybe start slowly and.
So do you want a glissando then between them?
Yeah, no tongue, no tongue. Up from D flat. Yeah, check out your D flat here. Thinks it's a C.
Not too far.
16ths or anything like that eventually. This is just sort of examining the whole transition from D flat to F, you know. Probably good to do it on the mouthpiece while we're at it, in fact. Yeah, and I think the more glissando between them, especially on the mouthpiece, the more it's going to lock in. Yeah, watch out, I think that D flat's still creeping downwards. Especially on a tune like this, somewhere we usually overestimate how quick the slide needs to move. It can usually move a lot slower than we think. But this is it's a melancholy waltz, sort of a folk tune kind of thing. A dusty old singer on the side of the road or whatever. He doesn't care if there's a gliss in his song or whatever, in his voice or whatever. So. But I think I would not tongue any of these notes. So I don't have to.
Okay.
What do you have to tongue? The A flat and the G right there. And I would probably just blow right through the rest. Okay. Train my chops to fine tune my chops so they can do all the work from there. Do you want to try this as a phrase now?
Sure.
I guess that pretty much works as an 8-bar phrase. Huh?
Right, and so, if you get it, especially if you get it to 66 per bar.
Yeah. So I guess be thinking about saving some air. That may be part of it. It's a long phrase, and you got to save some air for the
Okay.
It sounds like you're doing a lot of tonguing in here, are you?
Yeah, I am, because I'm afraid the note's not going to come out.
Yeah, I see that. Well, that's what we're working on. It sounds like you're trying to do too much with your chops to get the F, and not enough with. Aperture pretty much the same and just increase and decrease the air like.
No, I haven't done those.
Do a couple just to kind of try and keep everything pretty much the same on your lips. And you can only move upward by increasing the yeah, it'll be weird. It can be done. Obviously, in reality, we have to combine the lips and the air.
Yeah, I'm moving them. I'm cheating.
And there'll always be a little bit, but.
That's interesting.
I think, and especially you start doing it in like 4th, 5th, and 6th partials up there, and then I think that really kind of. Sort of overtrains you on how much you have to move your air around to make a phrase like this really sing, Try just doing it between D flat and, well, I guess F flat, just staying in second position and doing that mostly with air. There's even a diagram in one of these books. Gosh, which book is it? That's right.
There are so many books out now that.
I'm thinking of this diagram he has about range in general. This here, with the embouchure strength and air intensity kind of working together. And I think a very common thing is to be, he's got a 50-50 thing there. It's a very common thing is to try to do like 80% with the muscles and the embouchure and stuff, and then just have a minimal adjustment of the airstream. But I think, in order to really have the air, I mean, this is the Arnold Jacobs thing. It's the air that creates this song, and
song and wind and stuff.
and there's no musical property to muscles sort of twitching and moving around, but there's this natural musical property to a stream of air that's going up and down faster and slower, and you can hear the pitch as you easily play tunes.
Now, is that the book we started with?
Yeah, this is the same
book.
Yeah, so this is the diagram at the very beginning of the range routine, number 6, from the Daily Routines book. Anyway, so but that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
And I can even see your muscles making fairly large movements on the outside as you try and go between those partials. And I mean, I'm sure mine moves too to some extent, but I'm really going for. To trigger it, a good way to trigger it is to follow the dynamics along with the contour, right? And exaggerate it a little bit. Your high notes are going to be quite a bit stronger than your other ones. Hopefully with musical gradual shaping. But
well, let me see what happens if I try all that.
Yeah. Or the natural slurs sounded like they were.
Yeah. What I'm finding in here in all of these lessons, one-on-one, it's easy to let go and do this and make the suggestions, and then you get into, somebody else is listening to me who doesn't know what's going on, who doesn't where I am and stuff, and what are they going to think? That is just the voices in your head. I think you got to get rid of.
Oh man, yeah. But man, that sounded better.
Yeah.
I really feel like this air versus muscles thing is a key thing to focus on.
So maybe some exercises that you would recommend that would develop the air and as you go up in the upper register.
Well, I would keep doing the same kind of stuff that we did at the beginning, but once we get into these things,
the lip slurs.
This is the range where you can really practice it. And it's such a drastic movement between partials there. These second, third, fourth, where there's a lot of space between, you can really slam them up and down.
Yeah. So
with air.
I don't know if we can see this, but it's the lip slurs over the different partials.
Yeah.
Which I think goes back to Emery Remington.
It's all in his book too. Yeah. But anything like that where you're moving around and the Remington, where he just takes you through those slow 3 and 4 note slurs.
Right.
That's the kind of thing, really, maybe even more so than this.
And he's I've heard a recording of him saying it, as little motion as possible as you go through it, which is what my goal is.
Yeah. So. I feel like, I feel like the airflow is so much easier for us to physically control than tiny, minuscule twitches of muscles here, like the tiniest little twitch and you're up a fifth.
Right.
If
well, when we sing, we don't think Twin
Exactly.
toes
Yeah, it's very
chords, so it's
very,
the same thing.
Yeah. So the maybe the finishing touch that I would put on this, if I were you, is to maybe you become more conscious of the vibrato that you're putting in.
Too much?
Save it for some particular spots where it'll be musically
Right.
effective. So, and it sounds just from what we were doing in the beginning too, like you could use some practice on just holding it straight with nothing.
It's a huge
Nothing going
crutch that I've developed over the years.
Really?
You know, yeah,
Yeah,
because you use vibrato, you're in tune, and
Yeah,
it covers up a world of sins.
Yeah,
so trying
exactly.
without vibrato
Yeah.
is a good
Right,
idea.
right. Try just like a few bars with holding it totally straight. Go real slow too.
And no vibrato at all.
Yeah, try and hold it completely straight tones. Yeah.
I'm not looking at the music.
So you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. I agree. It totally lays your whole tone and everything open,
Right.
naked, and
Yeah.
it has nothing covering it, and you can hear every detail in every articulation that's not totally
Right,
consistent.
and
everything.
it's intonation too. So,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, the
I have lots of
intonation.
intonation issues, and
Mhm.
so that vibrato covers up a lot of that.
Yeah,
See, I can't even not do it.
right. It's a natural.
I think it would help me to practice something like scales or
Yeah.
non-melodic things.
Or the
because, like,
Remington long tone pattern where
Yeah.
you're back and forth, or
and this, I look at this and I go, oh, vibrato.
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
said, it's so choosing the repertoire correctly would be
uh-huh.
a good idea.
Do you want to do something a little different?
Anything you want.
So what if we pull out the duet book?
Okay.
That are duets by Leonhard Paul. You know him? He's in Benozzel Brass.
Oh,
He's the guy with the long hair, the tall
yeah,
fellow.
okay. I heard Jack
Here.
tell me they were here last year.
Yeah,
They're coming
yeah.
again. That's pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, so he wrote these. They're all so maybe like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I was
Can we
supposed to
pull
take
this?
the top part, wasn't I?
Yeah,
I totally
but-
played the bottom. All right. Now
we'll switch.
Now
I'll
we'll
go to
switch.
the bottom. So
All right, here we go.
1,
2, 1, 2. Oh, where's that second ending? Sorry.
it's way over here.
Can we just go back to here, and I'll take
Okay.
the second ending with you this time? All right, so we go here. Just all right. 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay.
These are nice.
Yeah,
These
they're all
published
nice.
or?
I don't know how published they are. He just was giving them out.
Huh.
he gave a copy to Jack, and Jack gave them to me. But there's a set about 10 or more of them. You play these at all?
No.
Layered duets?
No.
They're all almost entirely top line melody, bottom line accompaniment. So I think they're fun to do and a game with, and the way it works is whoever's playing the melody is the leader, and they can do whatever they want. Style, time, break for cadenza,
Nice.
12 bars of blues, whatever. The bottom line person has to follow them diligently wherever they go. So we can just pick anything in here. Yeah, maybe that was kind of a slow one. That might be fun to do. Do you want to start out with the melody and
Sure.
do something with it? And, sometimes they're pretty tricky, but and then at some point, if you want, we can pause and switch parts or anything. Yeah, sure. Great. So I got this pickup. Anything else you want to do? Any other questions or
just
anything else you'd like to
if there was one thing, you had the whole trombone world listening to you. If there was one thing that you would want them to think about, what would it be?
Stop listening to trombonists and start listening to violinists,
singers,
and singers,
excellent.
And things like that.
I know exactly what you. It used to be we did stuff because we played the trombone, and the trombone wasn't, was limited. But it's not limited, and all the young players are showing us that now. They can do, and it's great. Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much.
Absolutely, it was fun. Thank you for